What's going on, everyone? Jack here from Half Chrome, and today I'm going to do a walkthrough, a basic setup and tutorial how to use the Air 3, the controller, the drone. We're going to walk through the app, the different flight modes, so that you know basically everything you need to know to get this thing up in the air. Now, I'm going to assume that you can charge the batteries, and we're going to go from there. So you take off the gimbal guard. I recommend you put it into the case or somewhere so you don't lose it. You don't want to lose that thing. It helps keep this camera secure. And then you're going to unfold. You have to unfold the back arms first, otherwise they kind of get in the way. Unfold the bottom arms. Now I'm going to set this drone off to the side for a second. We're not going to turn it on quite yet because I want to get you rolling with your remote. Now, the remotes, there are two different options. I have the one with the screen, the RC2 here, and the sticks are hidden in the back. Go ahead and take them off the back and screw them on. Okay, let's take a look at some of the buttons you got here. Right, so this is my throttle. This is up and down. This is going to spin the drone or yaw it left and right, forward and back, left and right. In the center here, C is for cinema mode. That's super slow. N is for normal, probably where you want to fly. And S is for sport. That's going to make it super fast. But when you put it in sport mode, no obstacle avoidance. Make sure you know that. This is your return to home button. You hold that down to make it come back. Tap it once, it's going to pause what you're doing. So if you're in an orbit or something like that, that's what it'll do. And of course, we have your power button. Up here on the top, we have some important buttons. This is to click this button here to record video. This one on my right shoulder, that's going to take a picture. Then we have a couple of dials here. This is my gimbal dial. And the dial on my right index finger, that's going to help me zoom. Awesome feature. Buttons on the back are customizable, the C1 and C2 buttons. By default, one of them moves the gimbal up and down, the other one turns on a light. I switched my other button so that it switches camera modes. That's what I like to do, and then it moves the camera. So let's get this thing up in the air, and we'll show you how it works. Turn on the remote, tap, and then hold. And that's the same for your drone. It's a tap and a hold. Then we're going to go set the drone up on a launch pad and get it up in the air. Okay, so the drone is up in the air and I want to run through the app with you. Alright, so I'm already in the app. Let's take a look at the screen along the top. We can see it's in N mode, that means normal. If I flip the switch, it's going to change, right? If you want slow, go cinema mode, but we're going to stick with N for normal. Clearly it's in flight. Just kind of move it along. You can see I have 91% battery. That should be about 44 minutes. Now, it's not going to really be 44 minutes. It's going to ask me to land sooner, and I suggest you do. That's best for your battery. We have our C signal strength. Obstacle avoidance is on. I have 23 satellites. 3 dots, those are some different menus. We'll get into that in a second. All right, moving along the left side, I've got my waypoints icon, which we're not going to do. I've got a return to home icon. I'm not going to click that because I don't need it to come home yet. I got my histogram on. Let's turn that off. That's a camera setting, that little graph. I turned it off because we don't need it. And of course we have a map. This is super useful to kind of help you get your drone home. You can kind of see where the home point is. If I need to bring the drone home, point the arrow towards the home point and then fly there, right? So I can see me now. It's facing home. There's that little takeoff pad, but let's point it out here. It's kind of a better view than that. Maybe we'll get some fun things come along the path. Who knows? All right, along the bottom, you can see that it is 47 feet high and 55 feet away from the home distance. It's just kind of hovering over there in the edge of my yard. It's 0.0 miles per hour twice. One is a vertical distance, right? So now it's moving up at 5 miles an hour and down at 5 miles an hour. And then side to side, that's your side to side distance. So, or speed, I should say. Some kids on the trail, our bike path, biker on the trail. All right, and then along the bottom here we've got storage. I've got 20 minutes of recording. That's dependent on the size of the card that you're using and the resolution that you're shooting in. So right now I'm shooting in 4K 60, and my exposure value is 0.0. So if I want to change my resolution, maybe I don't need to shoot at 4K 60, but let's shoot at 4K 30. That's usually what I like to shoot in, unless I'm doing some slow-mo stuff. That's usually when you want higher frame rates. If you're just shooting random stuff, I like to shoot at 1080p. It's really pretty darn good, especially if you're going to view it on a phone screen. But we have 1080p 4K, 1080p 9x16, 2.7K 9x16, and that's just going to crop it for vertical video. Let's go back to 4K 30. That's what I'm going to shoot in. Now this camera icon, actually we didn't check all the frame rates, right? So we get 4K 60, 1080, 4K 60. We should get better than that. Must be an update coming. All right, so if I click this camera auto, then I can change some different things. I can change my white balance. I don't want to. I can shoot in HDL or D-Log, different color profiles. Talking with Chris, he thinks this is a little contrasty. He likes shooting the HDL mode, HLG mode, and then adding saturation later. Then of course you have D-Log M. All right, I can also switch cameras, that 1 or that 3, right? That'll swap cameras for me, but like I said, I have a button down here that does it for me. All right, if I hit that film icon, I can switch from I can switch my modes. I have photo, video, master shots, quick shots, and hyperlapse. I also have normal video. I have night video. I have slow motion video. That's where I'm gonna get my different frame rates, or my higher frame rates. So here now I can go up to 200 or 100 in 1080 or 100 in 4K. There we go. Let's go back to normal video. Night mode, obviously, if you're shooting at night, that's when you want to do that. It's just going to reduce some of the noise from the higher ISO. All right, so let's take a look at some of the different master shots. Master shots are super fun. They allow you to kind of pick a subject, and it's going to fly a bunch of really different unique patterns. Let's just run one. We'll just choose this spot right here. We click start.
3, 2, 1.
So it's going to adjust the camera. It's going to move around and take a bunch of unique shots, right? So it's going to do some orbits, some flybys, some bird's eye view. Right now it's doing a droney, right? So it's going to kind of capture a bunch of different shots of that one spot. And then when it's done, it's going to go back. Inside of the app, it'll kind of put together a short video if you want, or you can use the clips yourself and put them together. So you can kind of see now we have a circle far. We're about a quarter of the way done. And it's just a really cool way to capture footage. I like to do a master shot when I get to a new location, and then I usually put the footage together myself, but you can kind of go with that. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and stop it. We don't need to run through the whole master shots thing. So that's fine. So let's, now if I let it do it itself, it would have completed that whole deal, but you know, we didn't need that. All right. Okay, then quick shots. This is some of those, you know, master shots kind of pulled out. We've got the droney, kind of the up and the away, a rocket where it will fly straight up, a circle will orbit around your subject. One of my favorites. The helix is a circle and it moves upwards, right? So it gains altitude. Boomerang is kind of like an oblong circle shape, kind of fun as well. Asteroid kind of creates a 3D image, so it kind of zooms out into a globe. Super fun. So definitely play around with those, and then when they're done, they always return back to where we started. So let's do a rocket, right? You select your subject, click start.
3, 2, 1.
You get your little countdown, and then it goes, right? And this one, in this case, is just gonna point the camera straight down and fly straight up, focusing in on that subject. It automatically records, which is also really nice, because there have been times where I'm flying and I forget to hit the record button. So here we're going back home, and then we'll continue talking about some of these different flight modes. Alright, there we go. Alright, so let's get out of there. We have hyperlapse, and there are a few different hyperlapse modes. Free, where you fly. Circle, flies in a circle. Course lock, it flies on a course. And then you can kind of change the camera angle, and waypoints where you tell it where to go. Panoramic, there are a few different panoramic options. Oops, let's go back there. We've got the sphere, where it kind of pulls like a 360-degree photo, 180, where it's going to take a wide shot, where it's going to take a bunch of pictures. Sorry, it's going to take a bunch of pictures and kind of stack them. Wide angle, it's going to take a ton of pictures, and then vertical, it's going to stack the pictures up and down. All right, so let's check out our photo options here. We have single photo, right? Auto exposure bracketing, where we can take some pictures at different exposures, either 3 or 5, and then you stitch them together. Burst, we can take multiple pictures, and then time shot, so we can choose a time between 2 seconds and I think a minute, and then it does a countdown for you. That's pretty cool. Let's go back into video. Alright, so let's dive into the menu. So if you tap the 3 dots in the upper left-hand corner, the first is safety. Alright, so obstacle avoidance. What's it going to do when it sees an obstacle? Here, I want to go around, so I leave it on bypass. We can just have it stop if we want. And how do we want it to bypass? Right, it starts out normal. Let's make it nifty. More subtle altitude change and flies more smoothly, but more risk of crashing. Well, it looks cooler. Let's do it. Display radar map. Yes. Return to home. How do we want it to be? Optimal. Yes. That basically lets it figure out the best way to come home. In this case, my return to home altitude is 328 feet. Always set that higher than local trees and stuff. I don't need it quite so high. Let's go to 50-ish. Update home point. So if you're flying around, you're at a new location, you don't want to land, you just hit that and that'll be your new home point. Max altitude 393. Keep it under 400 unless of course you're flying over some sort of object where that's legal. Max distance, I don't have one. I can calibrate my compass or IMU. I don't need to do that. I get information about my battery, how many cycles, and charge level and things like that. Auxiliary LED. Do I want to turn it on here? Do I want to leave it off all the time, or do I want it to just kind of sense when it makes sense? We'll leave it like that, right? So if it's dark, it'll turn on. Aircraft front arm LEDs on. Unlock geozone. So if you're flying in a geozone, yes, you can unlock them on this drone. Find my drone if you crash it. Let's check out advanced safety settings. This is important. Signal lost. If you're flying indoors, definitely go in here and just kind of turn it. I always turn it to hover when I'm flying inside, but I'm not inside because I don't want to try to return home and hit a ceiling or something like that. So we'll deal with that. How do we emergency stop your propellers? And do you want air sense? You may have seen on the screen, I think an airplane flew by, or that might have been earlier, but it'll tell you if there are nearby airplanes. Great safety feature. All right, let's take a look at control. I'm here in the US. I use Imperial. Do we want to subject scan? Automatically scans and displays subjects in the camera view, right? So if you see a person, it just makes it easier to select them for some of those different automated flight modes. Gain and expo tuning. Do I want to change the sensitivity of these sticks and how it flies? I'd go in there. gimbal mode, follow me, or do I want more of a dynamic FPV mode? Some of those racing drones that you see, the gimbals kind of move a little bit more, or move a little bit less actually, so you see a little bit more movement. I can calibrate the gimbal. I can change my stick mode. Mode 2 is the throttle on the left. I can switch that if I need to. Button customization, yeah, definitely look at this and find the settings that make the most sense for you, right? So my C1 button right here, I use to recenter and tilt the gimbal down, right? So when I click it, my gimbal moves up or down, right? Let's kind of pan it out that way. It looks better. Okay, but my other one I use to switch cameras. I like to go between the two different cameras. That's what makes this drone awesome, and I think that's the easiest way to do it. Sometimes I try to tap the screen and it just wasn't working, so we're gonna go with that. But then you can kind of combo some of these different things if you want to adjust shutter speed, ISO, and some of the other values. All right, we can even get a flight tutorial in here if we wanted to. We don't need that. Let's look at our camera settings. Format, we're going MP4. Color, we're gonna go with normal. You know, if you want to shoot an HGL or D-Log, that just kind of preserves a little more detail, allows you to change the colors in post. I like to shoot in normal. Chris likes to shoot in HGL. I record in H.265. It creates a smaller file than H.264. Video subtitles, actually, I like to turn them on because that'll give me information like the ISO that the camera was using and things like that. So turn that on. Don't worry about anti-flicker. Keep it on auto. Histogram, it was on. Chris was using it last, and he likes to use it. I turn it off unless I need it, right? It's sensing light levels and things like that. Peaking level, overexposure warning, sometimes I will turn that on, and you see the zebra lines. Grid lines, love the grid lines, definitely recommend them. I like all of them. All right, and then style, right? So we have sharpness and noise reduction. Image does seem a little sharp. I'm gonna potentially mess around with turning that down. And noise reduction, that's interesting. That I haven't seen that before. Then I have my SD card storage, folder naming, file naming, cache options, things like that. I also have a transmission. You know, do I want to live stream? I haven't set any of that up. I don't plan to. I don't recommend that you do live streaming. Actually, is how Philly Drone Life got an $80,000 fine. So, you know, I don't know if you want to broadcast your flights, but maybe people do. And then we have information about your drone, right? So if you need to check for a firmware update, let's see, do we? We'll check after landing. Okay. What else? Did I miss anything? Yeah, all right. So click this play button, and then you can have access to some of your different videos. And actually, I should do a tutorial on how to edit, because you can use some of this DJI software to even edit your videos. We'll get into that later, but okay. Yeah, that's it. That's a quick walkthrough. I hope that this was helpful. You're able to use some of this information so that you better understand your new DJI Air 3. So yeah, I've got a bunch of videos on this drone coming out, so make sure you subscribe if you're looking for more information. Good luck, everyone, and happy flying.